Today, we're going to go behind the scenes and I'll share a little bit of my work that I do with my clients so you get a better idea of what does a vocal health and performance coach actually do. So this story is about Mandy. She came to me totally devastated. She was frustrated, and the problem was her voice was getting so tired, she was getting hoarse, and she had a full-time job as a teacher. She was also singing at her church band, and she had 3 little children. So she barely made it through school teaching during the day, and then she was dreading to go to rehearsal at night for her choir and for her band. And she was doing Sunday services. And the worst part for her, she would always sing bedtime stories to her children at night, and she could no longer do that. She was cutting her rehearsal time in half, and even with that, her voice it was still feeling shot. She didn't even know how to make it through school, teaching her classes, and she came to me, she said, "You know what, Christine, I'm gonna have to decide which career path I choose." And I said to her, "You know what, Mandy? You don't have to, because all we gotta do is get your voice aligned again, and you'll be able to do all of the above again." And she just looked at me like, "Really? What, are you a magician?" No, I am not a magician, but what I do, I look at what causes voice problems. We look at the root cause of vocal fatigue, of hoarseness, what are contributing factors, and once we have those identified, then we go into building a strong foundation for the voice, and then how to maintain it, regardless if that's for speaking or singing, because the instrument is the same. You use your larynx, the voice box. We use it for speaking, singing, and to breathe. So Mandy and I started out with I learned more about her history, like when did the fatigue start coming in. She also went to see a doctor, and turns out she actually had some nodules. Now, nodules come from high impact on the vocal folds. And again, that can happen with speaking or singing. And they're basically like calluses on the vocal cords. And those actually can be treated with therapy, and in most cases, you can get rid of them. But it was clear to me that in Mandy's case, she was a vocal athlete, obviously. She just didn't have all the tools yet on how to use your voice so it became sustainable. So again, we started with a case history. I learned more about when she started first having voice problems. We talked about hydration. We talked about her sleep. We talked about all kinds of things, because again, the voice, it's inside of us. So the whole body is part of what makes the voice sustainable. So we got to look at all the pieces of the puzzle. Having that information was a huge step forward for Mandy, because she had all those light bulbs coming. I'm like, okay, now I understand why certain things could be triggered by a lot of things and how it can have an impact on the voice. And that's exactly what happened. So we started with the protocol of vocal exercises, vocal hygiene, and slowly but surely, Mandy started to feel better. Her voice started feeling better. We also looked for ways that she can use her voice in the classroom with more ease. For example, in her classroom, we talked about strategies that she can use to make her voice more sustainable, so that by the time she gets to rehearsal, she would still have a voice in the evening. And not only was she a super student and implemented all the activities and exercises, but she really started to gain back her confidence. And that was super exciting to see. And when we talk about the voice, it's very personal. And very often it feels like if your voice is not showing up for you, that can really feel devastating, because you just don't know how you're going to move forward. Once you learn the tools and how to use your voice, that is super empowering, because then you can move forward with your voice regardless of how much your voice needs to do. So coming back to Mandy, she kept showing up for her sessions, and she kept getting better and better. And she's like, "Christine, I started singing more again. I have rehearsal and I was still fine." And we worked on her speaking voice, but then also on her singing voice. As far as her technique, in her approach, she did have a little tension in her singing. So we worked on that as well to loosen up her throat when she was singing. She opened up her voice. She was able to hit notes that she's never been able to sing before. Not only that, she's now back full-time at school working, but also full-time back at doing her services and singing for her band at church. And the best part of all, and she was in tears telling me that, and I get almost tears thinking about it, she was able to sing bedtime stories again for her kids at night. And that was just the absolute highlight for her. So for her to be able to go through that transformation and experience that, for me, that was fantastic to see. All I did was I gave her the tools that she needed so she could move forward. She was a vocal athlete. She just didn't think of herself that way. I'm sharing this with you because if you are a busy voice user, that does make you a vocal athlete. And as a vocal athlete, you've got to know how you use your voice. If you find this video helpful, click subscribe. There's lots more good stuff coming your way.